Alright, so I guess, I don't know, this is just kind of just a whatever. Last little thing of the year. Whatever. I don't know what it is exactly. But anyway. I guess I'll just start with an interesting inquiry that I had, because I noticed that a staggeringly large amount of most polyamorous relationships and people in them, they don't end up working typically, except for when, it seems as if Mormons and other, religious types who have more spiritual and philosophical dogma to keep the relationship stable are the only ones who are able to consistently do so. And I was talking on the Forever Dirt Discord server about this in 1968, said that pretty much that, the religion keeps them coerced in it better, and that seemed to be true if you look into some of the Mormon polyamorous polygamy cults. You can find some interesting documentaries about them on YouTube if you just look up Mormon polygamy cult. And, it's like, how does it work when it does work, and what sort of dynamics are in the working relationship, and what causes the failure of them. Are humans naturally polyamorous and nurtured in monogamy, or instinctually monogamous with the capacity for polyamory, or a bit of both? I think it's probably a bit of both. It's rarely one or the other. Things aren't black and white like that. But that's just my own personal presumption. It's not a fact, or whatever the reality of it may be. And I'll definitely look into it more to see if I can find any consistency with it. I might do something with it, kind of like what I did with Innocence, which I did a kind of a survey on to see what people thought of it, and the result of that was the most common answer was Innocence is conflated with ignorance of sorts. And I'm kind of disappointed, because I wanted someone who believes in innocence, and that, I want someone that believes in purity and stuff, but most people seemed to agree that no one is innocent, except if they're, purely ignorant. I guess that's the only real purity, is ignorance is the answer, I guess. It's weird. It makes sense, but it doesn't at the same time. But it just makes sense. Then I'm just looking through this notebook to see. Then fear. Fear is also another thing I want to do, kind of what I did with Innocence. And I've written a lot on fear in the past. I think it's interesting, like, I remember, once I was watching Donnie Darko, and there's that scene with, fear and love being made into a false dichotomy, and, I really liked that. Then I also recognize that, I think, if you look at it, fear is an instinctual driver and motivator, like, fear gave us atomic weapons, you know, because fear of it being developed by the Germans first led the Manhattan Project to get to it first, though also Germany failing economy and so on and so forth with that bit of history. And, you know, the questions I have for people with that is, you know, what is fear? What are some things that everyone should fear? And are some fears intrinsic? And what is a human if they're incapable of fearing? Then, yeah, so, you know, what I wrote for Innocence is kind of a little blurb. It's innocent children in quotation marks. Children are born through an event so traumatic that they tend to forget it. Well, they don't tend to, they always forget it. It's completely wiped from their memory. It's one of the cases where the memory is actually repressed. And I don't think such a bloody, painful, or violent event would produce something innocence. You know, there is no birth without blood. You know, but what even is innocence if we go with the standard of equating innocence with purity, which connects with virginity? Innocence is a lack of sexual experience, but the world as we know it was made through sex, and one of us, and no one of us would be here with if our ancestors had stopped having sex, you know. And there is no birth in humans naturally without intercourse. And I guess the idea is a being who hasn't had sex themselves. However, the interesting thing to note is the idea of being defiled or no longer a pure creature is essentially the same be the act consensually taken or rape. They both remove said innocence, but the idea of the idea of innocence isn't just limitedly linked to sex, though. Those who have experienced traumatic events as kids are either seen as or self-diagnosed as having lost their innocence. So in a sense, innocence is the lack of exposure to human instincts and the extremes of the world at their, you know, just you know, ignorance of the world around. That seems to be the common answer. Or stupidity was one that was given. Forever Dirt gave that, like, kind of a goofy stupid. But anyway, yeah. So then I guess I'll go through some of my favorite media of 2024 that I got. This DisinfoCon, the DVD of that. Then in a great album, which I got 3 copies of because why not? One Assassination Under God. The other copy's over there. Then Saviors from Green Day. Then I also really liked Negative Spaces from Poppy. Then in terms of books, you know, I just No by Boyd Rice, the book I did with Shane Bugbee, The Collected Satan, then the Man Eating and Man Sacrificing booklet, and then yeah, I then what else? I also liked the Popular Monster album from Falling in Reverse, and then The Substance was a really good movie. I saw Long Legs. I thought that was alright. I thought it was kind of overhyped. Then the Alien movie that came out was okay. Nothing too special there. It was Alien. It was what you'd expect. Bit of a twist there at the end with the creature thing, but all the same, it was all right. Let's see. Yeah, that's really it for right now.